So the villain in the first Avengers movie hinged his whole plan on putting all these different superheroes together on a team. That's a dumb idea that won't work. And then the villain in the second Avengers movie was all about superheroes are dumb and would cause more problems than they'd solve. And now the villain in the third Avengers movie, featuring the most Marvel Cinematic Universe characters ever assembled in one project, is a guy whose whole deal turns out to be, I think there's too many people in this damn universe. I see you, Marvel. Okay, and in case you missed the thing up front, yes, this is the last chance to turn back because right after this, it's going to be time to talk spoilers. I'm not screwing around, guys. So a whole bunch of people are dead, huh? Like, did anyone have little kids crying in their theater at the ending? I think mine did, but it was kind of hard to tell because it was nighttime and a bit rowdy to begin with. But yeah, that's quite a high body count, both universe-wide and in terms of people we give a damn about. I mean, I imagine a bunch of them are going to come back and a lot of this is going to get undone in general, since the whole Infinity War thing is about magical doodads that can undo all of this, and also a bunch of the dead people are already working on sequels in their own franchises. So yeah, and I also conceptually get why for a lot of people that kind of takes the oomph out of the drama once you introduce something like the Infinity Gauntlet that can just rewrite the entirety of reality, including who's alive or dead on a whim just because you haven't stripped away our incentive to care about anything or invest in any stakes whatsoever. But honestly, that kind of thing very seldom bothers me in the material in question, if it doesn't give me some additional reason for it to bother me. I mean, sure, part of that could just be that I've been ready for it for a long time. As soon as Marvel said a decade ago, we're going full-on comics universe with these things, I figured that it meant it was going to be an eventuality, and now here we are. Plus, this kind of thing has already been a thing since the first Thor, hasn't it? Once you establish that one of your characters is Odin, as in Odin, the All-Father King of the Gods, you're pretty much saying anything we want to happen here can happen here anytime we want it to for any reason we make up on the fly. So you might as well just go with it and enjoy the ride, yes? And really, aren't those things just the rules of fiction, period? Like, I'm not trying to be dismissive here. If this doesn't work for you because the omnipresence of the meta-narrative lessens the overall dramatic tension, that's perfectly valid. I just wonder myself why we're inclined to apply that standard to fictional works that actualize the Deus Ex Machina as a tangible device, but less so when it's just as present in every other work of fiction that doesn't have a specific Infinity Gauntlet or Master Wand or reset button or whatever to hang it on. Like, we all do get that, right? You know, that when Tom Holland reports for work on Spider-Man 2 in however many weeks, it's not because some combination of the Reality Stone and Time Stone made it possible. It's the fact that Spider-Man is not a real person, none of this is real, and anything the writers want to have happen to them at any time can happen, regardless if there's a rule in the toolbox for it or not. Hell, it doesn't even apply just to fiction. Hitler didn't really die like that, didn't stop Tarantino from ending Inglourious Bastards exactly how he wanted to end Inglourious Bastards. I mean, but I guess that's a whole other thing. Point is, my critical perspective is that while lore and continuity are fun to play with, dramatic impact and narrative is about the moment and the execution, not the position and the bigger ridiculous mechanism. Peter Parker's death isn't a moving, emotionally effective moment in Infinity War because I'm now never gonna see Spider-Man again. Of course they're gonna bring him back, and even if they don't, he's not a real guy, so nobody died. It's affecting because Holland and Robert Downey Jr. sell the shit out of that scene. They're good actors. Likewise, the most emotionally devastating scene, in my opinion, was easily Thanos having to sacrifice Gamora, and yeah, I think there's like a 40-60 chance she actually stays dead because she died in a different way than the whole turn to dust by the gauntlet thing, the way half the universe does later, but mainly it's because the story between those two characters is so complex and well played out, and Zoe Saldana and Josh Brolin sold the hell out of it, which is not easy to do considering half their conversation is about made-up space mark bullshit, and she's a green alien in biker chick gear, and he's a purple CGI mocap dude, and I don't know about you, but I was still climbing out of my seat in excitement that the Red Skull was finally back. So yeah, the fact that the big stuff may or may not be permanent doesn't really have any effect on my appraisal because I generally don't rely on lore and continuity for emotional stakes or narrative engagement. I rely on filmmaking and performances, and especially the performance side, they both work for me here, Brolin's Thanos in particular. I mean, by design, it's clear the whole Avengers team-up thing when it comes to the movies works best when it's treated as an all-star game and not the playoffs. The solo movies are where you tuck into the meat of the characters and the relationships or get all philosophical, political, whatever. These are for bringing together everyone everyone on stage to use their cool weapons, say their catchphrase to each other, find out who wins in a fight and so forth, but you do need something extra, and for Infinity War, the something extra is this fascinating characterization of a bad guy who's absolutely sure that he's the hero of the movie. I mean, sure, we've seen that idea before, but this isn't the typical take on it where the bad guy has a point but goes about it in a bad way like Killmonger or Magneto or whoever. Thanos is an irredeemable genocidal maniac, and not only is he sure that his universe-wide Malthusian overpopulation bullshit solution is right, he's already fully accepted that he's not just the good guy, but the suffering, righteous, lonely martyr hero who's totally made peace with no one ever recognizing, rewarding, or even thanking him for it. He doesn't even want power or leadership. That's a terrifying idea, and it's fascinating to not only watch Brolin play him as this totally self-deluded sociopath, but also for the movie to very candidly give him basically a hero movie story all his own in between all the Avengers, Guardians, etc. team-up stuff. I mean, think about it for a minute. He gets an introduction, an origin, a backstory, pathos, psychological depth. He gets to make his case. He goes through an arc. He has to make a difficult choice, something like an all is lost moment or two. He gets from his perspective exactly the happy ending he wanted on his own terms. And did you notice they even did the Marvel villain thing where all the enemies he had serious, more than a fistfight confrontations with were enemies who mirrored him, his perspective, or his experiences in some way, i.e. Doctor Strange and Iron Man are also guys with big egos who want to control the world to protect it. Thor, Scarlet Witch, and Star-Lord are also people who lost their homes and families and childhoods. Gamora, duh. Now that is how you put that long-term continuity bullshit to proper use. Stuff that didn't work as great, well, you know, I like the banter, but Thor, Rocket, and Groot's story didn't really feel as resonant as the others, in my opinion. And while I agree that the Russo brothers are probably the best pure action directors Marvel has on the payroll right now, I find myself wishing that either they or the producers in charge would insist on featuring more extras and shooting more coverage, and by reminding us that this is about more than the 18 or 20 people on the posters. Like, yeah, half the cast turning to dust is creepy and shocking and bold as endings to these things go, but imagine how much harder it would hit to cut away and see that same kind of shit happening to like Aunt May or Lewis or Pepper or Hawkeye's kids or Darcy and Selvig, or even just random people who have no clue what's happening and are just horrified, like people sitting down to dinner or walking dogs, pushing baby carriages. That would be terrifying. Still, overall, what's there works really well, and I remain really invested in what comes next. 3.5 stars absolutely still stands.